Welcome back to the Basic Bee podcast. I'm so happy to have you here. And I'm also super duper happy to have my guest here. I'm talking to Eman Ismail. We're going to be talking about email, blogs, SEO, and it's going to be one of those more Q&A style episodes. So I'm really excited. You all seem to love them. So here we go. I'm going to introduce you to Eman, and then we will kick off the episode. Eman is the person to call when you want to make money from your emails. As an email conversion strategist and copywriter at imancopyco.com, she helps 6- and 7-figure online business owners, creators, and personal brands fire up their conversions, evergreen their sales, and turn fans into super fans. Collectively, her strategy and copy has helped generate millions of dollars for her clients. She's also an official ConvertKit paid partner. When Eman's not working on email, she's hosting her multi-award-winning podcast, Mistakes That Made Me, a HubSpot podcast that asks extraordinary business owners to share their biggest business mistakes so you know what not to do on your road to success. Eman, hi.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Of course, I'm thrilled to have you here. And since you're a listener of the podcast, you know the first question that's going to come your way. And just as a reminder, there are no wrong answers. So what do you believe is the most important for sales? SEO, storytelling, or social proof?
Oh God, that's such a hard one.
I know.
Because my immediate thing to go to is like storytelling. But you know what? I'm really, 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 really passionate about social proof. Like I just relaunched my website and quite a few people said to me, oh my gosh, the social proof. It's so important and it's so powerful. Okay, this is so hard for me, especially as an email copywriter who loves storytelling. But I'm going to say, I don't know if the stories will sell without social proof, but social proof can sell without stories. So I'm going to go with social proof.
Oh, I like it. I don't know how many people have said just social proof. I'm actually, side note to everyone listening, I have a task for myself to go back and figure out like what the breakdown is for who said SEO or storytelling or social proof or all three, because I'm just so curious what we all think.
Okay, but I feel like I didn't know all three was an option. But I feel like that's cheating. Is that not cheating to say all three? Like you have to choose one.
No, there's no wrong answer.
Oh, damn.
Do you want to revise your answer? Because you totally can.
Okay, I want to say storytelling with social proof is the ultimate powerhouse. Social proof plus storytelling. But I thought I could only choose one. So if I could only choose one, I'd go with social proof.
Okay, but the combo.
But the combo is like...
for the real win.
Yeah.
I like it. This is a beautiful segue. This is interesting to me because when I was checking out your blog, we're going to be talking about, I'll let you share the topic in just a second and what's going on in your head. But with hearing what you said as the, quote unquote problem that you wanted to talk out, as well as me going and looking at your blog, I didn't see any like case study type of things where you were showcasing your work. And I say that, and the finger, don't worry, is also pointed at myself because I've done podcast episodes, but I haven't spun them off into blogs.
Okay.
So I find that really interesting.
I can tell you why straight away.
Okay.
But I have a separate results page with all my case studies. If you go to results at the top of my website, I have my case studies there. But I don't think you're going to like how it's laid out because you click on the thing and it takes you to a PDF rather than it being on the website. So I don't think it does anything for SEO.
Not really.
But all my case studies are there. And they're very like storytelling fashion. I have to say I didn't write those. My brilliant case study copywriter wrote those.
I love that. No, I see them. They're on your website. I thought it was just going to be a PDF, but that is a web page. So yeah, it's definitely doing something for your SEO.
Okay.
I love it. Okay, so tell us more about why we are here.
Okay, my issue is that I am just really now 6 years into my business diving into like the world of SEO. I've just had my entire website redone and SEO was a top priority for it. So I'm hoping over the coming months that the SEO juice starts working and I start getting leads from Google. I can tell you that I've had probably in my 6 years just a handful of leads coming from Google and I'm always shocked when they say Google. Oh my gosh. Someone actually from Dragon's Den, which is basically our equivalent of Shark Tank, who I watched on TV, actually got in touch with me. And I was like, how the heck did you find out about me? She's like, oh, Google. Google? What the hell did you Google?
Yeah, really? Did you ask her that?
I didn't ask when I should have, but I figured like it was just such fluke. I was like, I don't know if it's ever going to happen again. Redid the website. SEO is a top priority. Like we've tried really hard with it. And so hopefully it'll work. But now, like, I want to get back into blog writing. I used to publish a blog every single week right at the beginning of my business 6 years ago. And I really enjoyed it. But now I just want to be super strategic. I know exactly who my audience is. I know exactly like what they want to read, what they want to find out, what they need. And I want a blog that brings in high quality leads. Now, I do think that my audience isn't necessarily going to sit there and read all my blog posts, but I feel like the purpose of the blog post is to bring them in. And then it's almost just like proof that I know what I'm talking about rather than them sitting there and actually like reading through it all. They're like, oh, this person knows what she's talking about. Okay, let me get on a sales call with her type of thing. So that's the goal. But the problem is that I have a newsletter as an email strategist that is really important that I am putting a lot of effort into because I can showcase what I can do for clients through my own newsletter. And a lot of my clients will join my newsletter and then get in touch with me and say, I want you to do for me what you do for yourself.
Yeah.
So it works really well. It's very important to me. I put in a lot of effort. I usually send 3 emails a week. And so I feel like all my energy and all my best content goes there. And my best content should go there because that's the skill that I'm trying to show off, basically. And that I know really works. Email marketing works for me very well. But then that makes me feel like I don't know what's left for the blog. Do I repurpose content from my newsletter? Like my best emails for the newsletter, for the blog? Or do I just like create, I don't know what it's called, but like people talk about like foundational content.
Oh, yeah, like pillar content, foundational. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Pillar content, foundational content. Is that what needs to go on my blog? Is there a relationship between the newsletter and the blog? I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to this blog.
You know your zone of genius. So, I mean, that's precisely why we're here, is to see if we can build on this and have it help your website.
Yes. Can I just say one more thing? I want to say one piece of content that was really popular that I did publish on my blog that worked really well was the email teardowns I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
I was basically signing up for the email list of of a big brand and then analyzing their email. It was initially a video and then I wrote a blog post around it and then also like published the video on social media as well. Like that is still one of my most popular kind of series. And there's one particular blog that analyzes Kylie Cosmetics emails that is super popular. Honestly, I can't tell you how like well it went down. And like, I don't know why I don't do more of that.
When did you publish that?
Like 3 years ago.
So was that pre-kids?
No, my youngest was 2 when I started my business. And then I had my second son 3 years later.
Okay. So it wasn't a time thing from that sense. That's where my brain was going.
No, it wasn't a time. Although I did move country. So yeah, there was a lot happening. In my head, I've always been like, I'm going to go back to the teardowns.
Mm-hmm.
I think also I've changed a little bit. Like I don't even like the name teardown anymore. Like I've changed.
Yeah.
It feels really rough and just not nice. And nothing about what I do is not nice, you know?
Eman is a kind, caring, nice, knowledgeable human.
Thank you. But then also email teardown gets attention. People like it, you know?
Yeah, they want to see that, but they also want to be able to see your expertise really shine.
Yeah.
That would be where keyword research, we could do a little bit of that and see if email teardown as a phrase is something that people are looking for, or could we potentially call it something else? That may feel a little bit better. I could see that being, just like a little bit of a roadblock from getting you back into doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely been a roadblock, yeah.
So, I mean, we have so many places that we could go with everything you just shared, but I will definitely say I was poking around on your website earlier. I mean, your domain authority is great. And for anyone who doesn't know, that's like your SEO report card of sorts, basically. So your score is 20 out of 100, but don't let that freak you out because I don't even think Google has 100.
Okay.
20 is really good.
Are we sure?
Yes.
I'm like, 20 doesn't sound great.
No, when I started paying attention to my SEO, it was like 9.
Okay.
So,
okay. I believe you.
I wouldn't tell you that just to be fake about it. Like, it's genuinely a good domain authority. So you've got that. You have a ton of backlinks. So when other websites are linking to you, you have over 800. You have 842 backlinks.
Websites linking back to me, to my website.
Wow. And what you may not know, which I've found out as a podcaster, is that when we produce our podcasts, we're not just sending one link back to ourselves. Or when we're a podcast guest, we're not getting just one link back to our websites. We're getting multiple. because it's going to Apple and Spotify and YouTube and this and that and the other ones I can't remember. So for every interview you're doing, be it on your show or as a guest, all those links are coming back to you so long as your website is linked in there. So that could be adding to it.
Okay, that's great.
You are ranking for over 100 organic keywords, which is really, really good. Take it with a grain of salt because I've seen some interesting numbers with the software, but it says you've got about 49 visitors to your website per month, just organically.
Organically, okay.
So again, take it with a grain of salt.
Okay, because the thing that I use, I don't use Google Analytics, I use Plausible. But Plausible would say that I have a lot more than that. So I'm confused.
Grain of salt.
Okay.
We're just going to skip over that one.
Okay.
It does look like your traffic has gone down a tiny bit. So when did your website relaunch?
That would have been around the beginning of September.
Okay. So that's where I'm seeing us starting to go down a little bit, which is normal. Takes a little bit of a dip and then it starts going back up.
Okay.
Things you can do during this time to really help your SEO is stuff like blogging, is stuff like, in my world, there are 3 pillars of SEO. So you want to create content like blogs. You want to find and fix any errors, any SEO issues. And then you also want to get backlinks. Well, you're going to continue doing all of those because not only do you have your podcast, you're also guesting. So that's going to give you backlinks at the bare minimum. You are on this show. So we're talking about how you can create more content. So that will definitely be something you're doing. And then even when you were doing the website rebrand, you were taking care of SEO at the same time. So all of these things are going to definitely help you to come out stronger than before.
Okay.
You look so nervous. You're doing good. Don't even worry about it.
Okay, good. No, this is good.
So when it comes to specifically with emails and blogging and how do the two tie together, I've seen one business owner, one entrepreneur in my world. She's doing such a great job. She's an astrologer and she's been writing really, really good detailed blog posts. And what she's been doing is taking the first third of it and using it as her email. Just copy paste using the first third and then having a button at the bottom encouraging people to go read the rest of it on her blog post.
Okay.
So that could be an idea. I mean, I know there would be potentially a little bit more strategy to it, like email is your baby. That's the thing you know the most about and where you feel really comfortable. So if you wanted to make it a little bit heavier lift, you could.
Okay.
But that would be a way to make it like a low lift way that you could repurpose it and do it that way.
Okay.
Or since we know that you're putting so much time and effort and care into the emails, I would actually say for you, what I would encourage you to do, number one, is to write the emails, share them, let them perform however they're going to perform. And like you were talking about earlier, maybe take the best performing ones and repurpose those as blog posts.
Yeah, I definitely think my emails could be blog posts. My only concern that is that I'm not doing any keyword research because obviously it was written for the intent of it just going out in kit. So yeah, I worry is that an issue?
I wouldn't worry about it. And I mean, if you wanted to take the time, you could optimize it for SEO. If you needed to do, again, like a lighter lift, just repurpose it as it is. Make sure you've got one H1 headline. Make sure you've got an SEO title and meta description and make sure your URL is optimized. That's what I would say to definitely make sure of. Did I say any words that you're like, what?
No, that all makes sense. My question from that would be, what is your recommendation for optimizing the URL?
You did a great job with the Kylie one. So your website, so emanCopyCode.com/blog/email-teardown-Kylie. So that's great. I mean, you're definitely getting keywords in there. It's like, this is what it is. What we really want to think about with keywords is what might someone be literally typing into Google where it would make sense for your blog post to show up, where you could be there for them, answer their question, give them whatever information or encouragement that they're looking for.
Okay.
Yeah, you've done a great job. You just want to make sure you have the little dashes, no periods, no spaces, no underscores, just for anyone listening who doesn't know that. But you did a great job.
Okay, thank you.
You're like, are you sure? Are you really sure?
I'm still stuck on 49 website visitors. Oh my God.
Oh, no.
Yeah, no.
And we could always go in your website.
Well, as soon as we're done, I'm going into my Plausible, let me check these stats because...
No, like I said, take it with a grain of salt. What I do for that is I check on my website itself. So I host on Squarespace and I go into my Squarespace analytics and that's what gives me the most accurate information.
Good idea.
Because if you go to Google, they're only pulling from Google. They're not also pulling in from Bing or other search engines. If I'm using this Chrome extension, it's only pulling in from whatever resource it's pulling in from. And I
Okay.
know for a fact it's been wrong about mine because recently it's been like, your website traffic is at 0. And I'm like, that's a lie.
Yeah, it's enough to give you a heart attack. Okay, I'm also on Squarespace as of
Oh,
recently.
good.
So yeah, I can check that out as well.
Yeah, definitely check that out. I love Squarespace. Welcome to the crew.
Okay, just to clarify, Squarespace says in the last 30 days I've had 1,200 unique visits
Brava.
and 2,500 page views.
Ooh.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
the other was not accurate.
Oh my God. You nearly gave me a heart attack with 43. Was it 43?
It said 49, but still it was
49.
much lower than that.
God. I was like, am I doing something wrong? Do I have to like burn my business to the ground and start again?
No, we are not making that dramatic of a thing. So I would wonder, this is a total side tangent, but if we were to go in and look at your Google Analytics or Google Search Console, I wonder if that would be the number. And then we would know that this Chrome extension is pulling from only that one data source. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. But it's okay. It's all good. You have lots of people coming to your website.
Good. Okay. Whew. Yeah.
I love it. Okay, so those are the two ways, getting back to the email and the blogs. That's kind of how I would think of it, just from like a really basic strategy of either having the blog, and if you're sharing it for the first time, including potentially the first third or however much of the blog as the email, and then sending people from your email to the new blog. Or having that email that's performing really, really well go out and become a blog on your website. I think that second one is probably going to be the best for your business.
Okay, that sounds good.
Because you could also think of, okay, from this email that turns into a blog post, where else could I send people? Could I send them to book a service with me? Could I send them to buy a digital product? Could I send them to go listen to a certain podcast? That's also what I'm thinking of, which you do that with email. It's like, okay, what's the next step? What's the ultimate goal here?
Yeah.
So that would very easily translate into the blog too.
That sounds really great. I also think about my blog in terms of getting more podcast listeners, because the podcast listeners tend to be the people who would buy my digital products. And so I have some really great podcast episodes and interviews, but I don't know how to create blog posts around those either.
Yeah.
I just don't even know where to begin.
You're like, help, is this possible? So that's the only kind of blog that I've been doing this year. I started this podcast in January, and that's the only thing I've done all of 2024 because I wanted to have blogs, but I didn't know really how to be the most efficient because right now it's just me. I don't have an assistant. It's just me doing all of the things over here. So I'm like, how can I maximize my time and have this bigger, long form, longer lasting content actually continue to keep going out and working for me? So every time I publish a podcast, it becomes a blog post either the same day or the very next day. And I keep it really, really simple. So I don't even have like pictures within the blog post itself. The only image that I have is just the thumbnail that you saw back on this main blog page. But if I'm looking at my blog post, this is the H1. I have this as the H2. Usually there's 1 to 2 sentences. When it fits, I have a button up here under that H2 that takes them to an offer, a download, a relevant, workshop or something like that. Then I always embed the podcast player because even if someone listens to it here, that counts as a podcast download, as a play for that episode.
Okay.
So it counts towards your numbers. Then I have some kind of like singular paragraph, and then I'll include bullet points for what we talked about in the episode. I always link to the specific episode on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. So if someone really wants to go out there or save it to a playlist or share the link over there, then they can. And then for any episode that has a guest, I include the guest bio. Then I include any resources that were mentioned. Maybe that's paid, maybe that's free, maybe that's just a website I was talking about. I'll include any related episodes, which these links are going to go over to the other blog posts. I'm not going to take them to like Buzzsprout. I'm not going to take them to Apple. I'm taking them to my other blog posts. Like this is really helpful for SEO juice when it comes to blogging.
Okay.
And then I'll include links to the guest, links to myself, links to my podcast producer because I love working with her, as well as to encourage people, again, to possibly follow, rate, review the show. And the very, very last thing that I have is the transcript. And I always like to say that it's unedited. So that's how I do it. It takes me maybe like 15 to 20 minutes to put this up, but I'm repurposing a lot of the stuff that I have used to create the original show note for the podcast episode.
Okay, this is great. So I do a lot of this, but there are a few key things that I've not done that would be, I think, really helpful for me to include. E.g., I don't have a H2.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not linking back to my own offers. I am, but it's not as like buy my offer, like go
Yeah.
check this out, getting people to really like look at it. I think it's just a bullet point in the maybe show
Mm-hmm.
notes. I'm not including the bio of my guest.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like related episodes. I
Yeah.
really like related episodes.
And that'll be great because you have so many under your belt at this point. With
Yeah.
anyone who's starting out, it can be a little tricky. So when I was first putting out episodes, I'm like, I have 6 and they kind of don't really like make sense to link to each other. So I had to wait a little bit until I was like, oh, I can link this episode to this one. And this was a related topic or this builds on what we talked about in this episode.
Okay, that's really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else you want to chat about from here before I click away from it?
No,
Okay.
no, it's all good. It makes perfect sense. I'll have a look at it later and see how I can improve mine.
Okay. Okay, you get it. You know SEO is important, but no, you're not interested in learning another skill. Who has the time? But who are you supposed to trust with the task of getting SEO to work for you? Someone who won't ghost you mid-project or treat you like a dum-dum lollipop. Someone who actually wants to empower you and your team with all things SEO. Hi, yes, it's me, Brittany, and you are the person I created the SEO packet for. You're curious, you want to understand this thing better, but like only a little bit. You don't actually want to do the doing. This way, you get the key SEO stuff super fast, and you get support throughout and beyond the project. No more letting Google gift you the wrong SEO strategy. Time to put the right words in the right places and get found online by the right people. Find all the info you need below. I care so deeply about podcast SEO and blog SEO that I actually made a download, which I'll make sure for anyone listening, it's linked in the show notes below or in the blog post, wherever you are. But it can be seamless. It can be really easy and efficient to create. And they have legs. They go out and continue marketing for you for as long as they're out there, for as long as you have a website, for as long as, your podcast is out there. So highly, highly, highly recommend.
Okay, that's really good to know.
Yeah. Are there any other questions that are like floating around?
No, I think that's everything. I like the idea of, actually, I like it both ways, honestly. I like the idea of writing the blog post and then sending the blog post as an email. And that's because the way that I write my emails and blog posts are very similar in style. So I think even if I write as a blog post first, it would be a good email and would sound very natural in that format.
Yeah.
And I like it the other way as well, publishing the stuff that I've already published onto my blog, as in that I published via email onto my blog. And actually I have so many that we could like start doing that ASAP. I could have my assistant help me to just start publishing them.
For sure. Let's talk about cadence because that's a question that people always have as well. So you could go absolutely gangbusters and do as many as possible if you wanted. That might look like 2 a week. That might look like 3 a week. You could go bonkers and do that if that feels sustainable and doable. Or that could be like a project for a month or 2 where you're like, we're just going to blast out 12 and, give ourselves a head start. The best cadence I've seen is, I would say once a week is like the best cadence. But I've also got a client who publishes one blog once a month. He's done that for 3-something years and he's got his traffic up to like 13 or 14,000 visitors per month. So, I mean, it's insane and it's really working. And it also shows that you don't have to do a ton of stuff, like one blog post a month. We can all do that. So even hearing that, what are you thinking? Just knowing the content you have.
Yeah, that sounds really good. I was thinking we could publish them like slowly, like drip feed them. And that gives me time to work on creating new blog content. So I'm not under pressure to create new blog content. And also I like my blogs to be really meaty. So I like the idea of, I don't know if you said it was your client or friend, but doing one blog post a month. And I can imagine that one would just be a really great blog post rather than like 4 mediocre ones.
Right. I mean, you've got so much content that if you find that you get in there and you're like, actually, we could definitely do 2 of these a month or something like that. Like you definitely have the flexibility that you can change. No one's holding you to whatever cadence you choose. You can always ebb and flow with how frequently you post. I don't think you're going to have a problem with this at all because I'm on your email list. I absolutely love your emails. But
Thank you.
I would say most people like just aim for no fewer than 500 words per blog post. You could definitely go more than that, but I would say no fewer than 500.
Okay.
Because that would be a good benchmark.
Okay, great. Yeah. My issue is like writing too much. So not fewer than 500 I can do.
Yeah.
My last question is, what tools would you recommend for figuring out the keyword research?
So there's a new tool that I'm starting to play around with. It's called keysearch.co. And I believe I have potentially an affiliate link. I got to go check to see if they approved me, but I'm really having fun with it. It's one that I heard about on Threads, and I've seen lots of other SEO pros talking about it and how much they love it. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to go play around with that one. Up until now, I've been using mostly Ubersuggest, the Chrome extension, which is free. And just like a couple of tips as you're going in and doing keyword research, the good volume is 0 to 1,000, at least in my world. And the best volume is 0 to 100. And what that means for anyone who's unfamiliar with search volume, it just means how many people per month on average are typing in that phrase into Google or some other search engine to get to their answer. So if you keep it at under 1,000, then you're going to end up being a bigger fish in a smaller pond, i.e. easier to find. If you go over 1,000, you're going to be a little fish in a giant pond that's already full of other fish. So it's harder to find you. So 0 to 100 is great. 0 to 1,000 is also good. But yeah, those are the two tools I really love. KeySearch is paid. Ubersuggest Chrome extension is free. I do have a couple other just like bullet points I can roll through for optimizing the blogs if you want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, let's do it.
So I was looking at the blog post that you did about Kylie Cosmetics. So a few ideas. You want to make the most out of those headlines. So definitely the H1, but also the H2s and H3s. So you have the H1 is Kylie Cosmetics, email teardown, the good, the bad, and the mops, which I love that because I was like, what in the world is mops? And then I got there and it was missed opportunities, which is like beautiful. So I scrolled down even just to see what that said.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Okay, so you have that thumbnail image at the top with email teardown of Kylie Cosmetics. You would want to make sure that any images have an optimized image title, meaning that there's a keyword in there. So that's going to be similar to the URL slug that we talked about.
Okay.
Having those dashes and having the words, obviously the email teardown or whatever we decide to call it, the product. So in this case, Kylie Cosmetics. And then if you wanted to, you could also potentially have your name in there if it were like Eman's email teardown of Kylie Cosmetics or something like that.
Okay.
But you want to optimize image titles. Going back to what I said about the headlines, you want to optimize those. So this first section says the good, which in this email, I understand what that means. It's like the good part of the email sequence, but maybe saying that in a few more words to have that H2 just be a little bit meatier.
Okay.
Could be good. And then, for example, with your H3, one of the H3s you have says, good, attractive sign-up offer. Again, in the context of reading this, it makes sense. But I think the stat is something like 75 to 80% of people just read the headlines. So one thing I like to do is skim and see if it makes sense by just reading the headlines and none of actual like the meat of the post.
That makes sense. And I know that from my other copy stuff. So yeah, that should be obviously the case for this as well.
But again, like I'm saying, it makes sense once I'm in the post. But if we just want to take it up another level, I'm just being like nitpicky here. So that's something that you could do. Another thing you could do is bold certain lines. So same thing. If it's bolded, people's eyes are going to go there as well. If it's italicized, their eyes are going to go there. So anything you really want to emphasize for certain email sequences or people, there's stuff that you're looking at, just bring that to attention with bold or italics.
Okay.
Give the readers a CTA. So I have a feeling based on what you said earlier about like, you'll share about your stuff, but it's not like a big call to action of like, go buy this thing, go check out this download. You and I are very similar.
Yeah, exactly. And to be fair, I did used to have the CTA, but it was like right at the bottom as well. So it wasn't even like well managed, but it was like join my email list. And then back then I was with ActiveCampaign, I'm like embedded opt-in form. But then I left ActiveCampaign and then I just removed them all and then never added it back again.
Yeah.
So, and even just the fact that like the PS is right at the bottom, that's like, oh, if you need some help, drop us a message at whatever.
Yeah. And it's not that it's bad placement there. I mean, especially the people who are going to read everything and they're going to go all the way down to the bottom of the page, they're invested. So it's still good to have something
true.
down there. Potentially you could have that as a button instead of a hyperlink. Potentially you have a button that leads them to, I don't know, some paid product or takes them to a service that you offer. But you could also, like what you're saying, insert something higher up in the post or even a couple of times higher up in the post.
Okay.
So that would be something to consider.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned the H2. So the H2 is giving them context, basically, and just getting them excited to keep reading.
Yeah, as you and I know, all copywriting is just like keep reading down the page and then go take an action. Like the short version of it is. So the H1 is like, what is the overarching big topic for this thing, be it a blog post, a podcast episode? But it's like, what is that big thing? The H2s break down that bigger point of the H1.
Okay.
And then the H3s further break down that H2 point.
Okay.
So you've used them appropriately in this blog post with the Kylie Cosmetics breakdown, but it's just like, if we're taking this to the next level, you could just add keywords in there a little more strategically.
Yes, got it. That all makes perfect sense.
You're doing great. Like I said, these are just going to like next level suggestions. Do you have any final questions as we wrap up?
No, that's everything. And honestly, this has been so helpful. So thank you. I think I turned it into just such a huge thing in my head. And also I'm a perfectionist. So when I do something, I really want to do it really well. And so then you know what happens next, procrastination. And then it's just been like years of procrastination at this point. And so I think I just need to get started. And I think the plan that you came up with is helpful, is just enough for me to just get started and get into a rhythm again.
Yeah, just dip your toes in. And then once you're in, it's easier to start making more moves. But, you know,
exactly.
I can't quite remember the quote, but it's basically like that we need to take action to get ourselves unstuck.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited to see where you go from here.
Oh, thank you. Me too.
You're welcome. Okay. So tell all the people now that they've heard me tear your blog post to shreds, tell them where they can find you.
So you can go to my website, emancoffeeco.com, and just avoid the blog right now. Just give me a few months. You will find everything there, from if you want to hire me and my small team to work on your email marketing, that's what we do best. I also have my podcast, Mistakes That Made Me, that asks extraordinary business owners to share their biggest business mistakes. So go have a listen. And then also my courses and workshops are there too. But if you are someone who likes to be on social, then go check out my Instagram at Eman Copy Co. And let's connect there. Tell me that you found me through this podcast. I'd love to know. And let me know what you thought of the episode.
I can't wait to hear the takeaways.
This is the first podcast I've ever been on that's like, well, this is why it was so beneficial for me, because it's not like, oh, demonstrate your authority. It's just like clearly demonstrate how much you don't know about this topic.
But also, while showing at the same time that you know what you're talking about with email.
See, I do.
You do.
When it comes to email, I'm good.
No, you're amazing.
SEO, not so much. Blogging, not so much.
I don't remember if you plugged your email list, but I'm on it. It's so good.
Oh, thank
so
you.
If you're not on Eman's email list, please go get on there. You'll have a blast.
Oh, thank you. You can get on there on the website. The footer, it's everywhere. You'll find it. It's everywhere.
There's no way you can't get on there. Well, thank you for joining me and having me talk this out with you. I'm really, truly excited to see what action you end up taking and how it pays off for you.
Thank you. Me too. This has been great. Thanks so much.
Of course. All right. I'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Hey, fellow podcaster. I see you out here wanting to do more with SEO, but not even knowing where to begin or what to do. Oh, and yeah, there are loads of episodes you know you should be blogging about, but how? I saw so many conversations just like this happening around me. And one day I just thought, I'm a podcaster. I'm an SEO show notes writer. I should make a resource. So I did. And now you can grab the SEO podcast show note and blog post templates. You get everything you need to go from podcast idea to SEO optimized podcast show note to SEO-ified blog post, which means you've got 2 long-form content pieces out here marketing for you 24/7. I even included video training so you know exactly what goes where and how to incorporate SEO for your podcast ASAP. Click the link in the show notes and grab your templates today.